All right, so today we're going to go ahead and go over our domain and range assessment that you took last week. We're going to go through all the answers, and then you're going to redo assessment to have a higher grade if you choose to do that one. Number one is over inequalities, so that was a prior knowledge question. The first thing you're going to do is distributive property. So you have to do distributive property on both sides. And then you just work it out. Negative 7w plus 14 is greater than 18 minus 6w. Just like solving an equation, we combine all of our variables on one side, all of our numbers on the opposite. So if I want to put all my w's on the left, I'm going to add 6w on both sides. Cancels out. So I'm going to write this to the side because I'm running out of room over here. So this gives me negative w plus 14 is greater than 18. My next step is to put all of my constants on the right, which are just my numbers. So I'm going to subtract 14 on both sides. So negative w is greater than 4. I cannot have a negative variable in my final answer. I want to get rid of it, so that means I divide both sides by negative 1. If I divide by a negative 1, the inequality sign will flip. Only flip it when I divide by a negative coefficient. So this means this is w is less than negative 4. So the correct answer, if I look at my assignment, should be A. All right, we're moving on to number 2. So on this one, the same thing. I have to work out distributive property and then combine like terms. Negative 6. And then negative 1.5 times 4 is 6b. So minus 6b. Negative 1.5 plus 8 is negative 12. Equals 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. 3 times negative 2b is minus 6b. When I'm done, I have to combine like terms on the left. I can combine negative 6 and negative 12. Negative 6 minus negative 12 is negative 18. Minus 6b equals negative 18 minus 6b. So this means the expression is the same on both sides of the equal sign. So this means this is what kind of solution? All real numbers. All real numbers. Some of you said it was no solution. If it's the same exact thing on both sides of the equal sign, it's all real numbers. In the end, if I had maybe 5 equals 8, that would be no solution. So that's the difference in no solution. Okay, so all the other problems are going to be dealing with domain and range. Number 3 is dealing with domain. Domain is from left to right. So it's like when I talked about in class, it's like I'm getting a scanner and I'm scanning it from left to right to see what numbers I'm looking at. So I'm looking at my maximum and I'm looking at my minimum. And the numbers are kind of hard to look at the grid line. So it looks like it starts at negative 5 and it's a closed circle and it ends at positive 45. And domain means I'm looking for x. So I'm looking at my choices. There's no way it's going to be D because there's a y in it. So if I'm scanning it, it's from negative 5 to 45. And it's closed, so that means the answer is B. The only reason you would choose D is if it was an open circle. If it's an open circle, that means it's not included. For number 4, A telephone company charges its customers per minute to make long-distance calls. The cost C can be represented by C equals 0.12 M, where M is the number of minutes. Which type of number is most reasonable for the domain of the situation? So we talked about in class, domain means our input value. So if I'm looking at my input value, that is my M. M is the number of minutes. What kind of number can the number of minutes be? Just talking about minutes, it can be like 1, 2, 3, right? Whole numbers, so the answer is going to be B, whole numbers. It would not be integers, because integers would be negative. Integers can be anything on that number line, negative 20, negative 19, and that's not true. Real numbers can be decimals, fractions, negative numbers, and it wouldn't be all of the above. So the only choice it could be is B for number 4. Problem number 5 is another situation. A theater teacher is going to order between 1 and 4 chairs for her classroom. The cost of the chairs Y can be represented by Y equals 22x plus 5.5, where X is the number of chairs ordered, which best represents the range of the situation. On this one, some of you chose A. If you chose A, it's because you were looking at the domain, not the range. The range is your Y values. So Y, and it tells you, represents the equation. So how am I going to figure that out? Well, I'm going to use my equation. 22 times 1 plus 5.5. 22 times 2 plus 5.5. And I can do that for 3 and for 4. So I'm actually getting an actual number. So the answer is going to be C. Again, A and B are dealing with the domain. This is not a domain problem. D is telling me you're getting every little number in between those two. And we're not. It's only certain ones. Question number 6. 2 functions are given on the table below. Which function domain is represented by X is in between 0 and 10, and it's included. So we talked about, if I'm looking at both of these graphs, function A is a discrete graph. Why? Because it has separate points. Graph B is a continuous graph. When I have a continuous graph, I'm going to have an interval. When I have discrete data, I'm going to have the numbers listed out. So this is an interval, so that means it has to be continuous, so it has to be B. So that means it includes all the points in between 0 and 10. This one only had 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that would not be correct. So the answer is B, which is function B only. On the back, says Trey drains 12 quarts of water from a cooler after a camping trip. The graph shows the remaining quarts of water as a liter function X and the time in minutes, which best represents the domain and range of the function. So it is not all real numbers because there's no arrows at the end of it. So if you chose all real numbers, you didn't realize it actually has a beginning and it has an end. Domain, I'm scanning from left to right. Domain, I'm scanning from left to right. So my starting point is at 0 to 6. So it's every number between 0 and 6. My range, I'm scanning up and down. My range, I'm scanning up and down. So my smallest number starts at 0 and goes all the way up to 12. So domain, range. So if I'm looking at my choices, my domain is from 0 to 6. My range is from 0 to 12. So my choice is B. For problem number 8, Peter launched a water balloon from the top of a building that is 15 feet tall. The graph shows the height of the water balloon as a function of X. The distance from the building in yards, which best describes this domain of the situation. So domain is the x values. Domain is my x values. So that means I can automatically mark off the choice of C because it has a y in it. So I'm looking at my graph. I'm looking at my x values, which are right here. So that means it starts at 0 and it ends at 8. So again, this is my domain. Those are my x values from 0 to 8. So that is going to be answer choice B. For problem 9, find the range of the graph. Keyword is range. That means I'm looking for my y values. All the choices have y in it, so I can't mark anything out. So I'm looking for my maximum point, which is at the top here, and my minimum point. So I'm pretty much scanning. My minimum is at 2, but it's not included because that's an open circle, and it goes all the way up to 18. So again, my minimum is 2, but it's not included, and my highest number is 18. So it's from 2 to 18, but it's not including 2. So your choice is A. Your choice is A. It's from 2 to 18, but it's not including 2. And the last one was the one that was missed the most. Which of the following function has a range? Y is less than or equal to 5. So remember, range goes up and down. So I'm looking for, it's going to be less than or equal to 5. B is not it because it's equal to 5. So this one was just all equal to 5. All my y values are equal to 5. C is not less than, it's greater than. So this would not be it. This is greater than 5. D, because it has arrows at the end and it's a linear line, is all real numbers. So the only one it could be is A. It means it starts at 5 and it keeps going to infinity. So my largest number is 5 and it keeps on going forever. So y is less than or equal to 5.